Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the channel. So, everybody, all the new subscribers, as I always ask, please go back and watch some of my old videos. Like, share, comment. I appreciate this, right? So, let's talk, right? Let's talk. So, I was on Facebook yesterday, and I was just scrolling. So, I saw a post. And the post was an excerpt from an article talking about the Jimmys and the Joes and how you can credit that phrase to Barry Switzer and Jimmy Johnson, because they figured out that if I have better talent than you do running my scheme, I win. I beat you. Even if you may feel like you're the better coach, I win. And that's not what really got my attention, right? That got my attention, but then when I scrolled up and I saw the caption, I said, "Oh, so this is what we're doing, right?" So the caption, and it was written sarcastically, right? Almost to poke fun at anybody who says this. And the caption said, "Mario Cristobal is a bad game day coach." Now, the person may have not been intending for the interpretation to be taken this way, but it's the way I took it. I took it as, you are saying that we can get enough talent on this team to where some of the shortcomings that Coach Cristobal has won't continue to be highlighted. Now, in some games, yeah, that's true. This is my theory. My theory is, if you have a lot of talent, you'll win 90, 95% of all your games, but it's that 5 or 10%. It's that 5 and 10% that really, that we're looking to get back to. We're looking to compete against the Georgias, the Alabamas, the Clemsons, the up-and-coming USCs, the Michigans, here recently, even the Oregons, LSUs. That's the 10%. That's the 5%. Not necessarily North Carolina, Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech, even though they've been giving us trouble since 2004. I ain't gonna lie. They've been giving us trouble. But they not the 5 and 10%, right? When we played the 5 and 10%, we've seen what happened. We watched Alabama. We watched LSU. Even in the Wisconsin games. Not saying they had the most talent, but they had better coaching. I think Wisconsin was better coached every time we matched up against them, right? That's where coaching still matters. But I said, you know what? Me being me, everybody know me from, inside of you, Shy gonna do it. Shy gonna take it though. So I jump in the comments. I say it didn't work for Larry Coker. Larry Coker had all the Jimmys and Joes. Didn't work for him. And like clockwork, post the 01, 02, 03. I said, what about 4, 5, and 6? What about 4, 5, and 6? Rebuttal. Talent wasn't the same. I said the talent wasn't the same. I said the talent never diminished. What diminished is the coaching. The coaching let the talent down. Remember, the narrative just changed this year, where it went from is not the players, it's the coach. Right? That narrative just changed this year. So you're not going to answer me back with the changed narrative. No, we're going to go back to what the narrative was when Larry Coker was here. Which was, it's not the players, it's the coaches. Or even so much so the culture, right? So notoriously, Larry Coker is computer, the looking at the ESPN top 300, top 5 players, whatever, just, hey, we on top. Hey, get me him. We're going to go get them. Now, what I will say about that approach, while it may have not been the best approach, because it's not necessarily what Butch Davis did, but let me tell you something about Butch Davis. I'll tell you what I've learned about Butch Davis. I don't know who I was listening to. I may have been listening to Streeter. I may have been listening to somebody else. But they said Butch Davis was the type of guy type of guy that never seen anybody like this before. Butch Davis is the type of guy to look at an 8th grader or a 9th grader and look at you and tell you that this is what this player is going to be in the next couple of years. And guess what happens in the next couple of years? That player is what Butch Davis said he was. So, the reality of the situation is, Larry Coker, you got some huge shoes to fill in terms of identifying talent. Everybody can't do that. Everybody can't do that. Everybody can't do what Butch Davis did, right? So, I'm not going to knock Larry Coker for realizing, look, that's not my strength. My strength is not looking and finding these players like Butch Davis and his staff did, because I think one of the things that I do want to say in this video as well is that Butch Davis had a very, very good staff. It wasn't all Butch. But I know it's kind of one of those situations where if you're the head guy in charge, you get all the credit, but you also get all the blame. But in this particular situation, we need to credit that Butch Davis had a very, very good staff at the University of Miami during his tenure. Larry Coker had a very good staff during his tenure at the University of Miami, right? So, moving on. The talent is diminished. Talent's not diminished. Coaching let that talent down. Coaching did that. So then he comes back and says, compare the 2006 roster to the 01, 02, and 03 roster. I may come off a little wild, but y'all let me know in the comments. Let's take away all the accomplishments that the 01, 02, 03 team had. Let's take away all those particular accomplishments. And let's look at the 04, 05, and 06 squads. No, he said 06. Let's look at the 06 squad. The squad that went 7-5. The squad that sealed Larry Coker's fate. Got fired. A year after what many feel like officially broke the University of Miami, that Peach Bowl. I still remember that Peach Bowl. We had Devin Hester trying to do everything as if we didn't have any more playmakers on the field. That was a bad game, man. That was a bad game. But even with his shortcomings from a recruiting perspective, Larry Coker brought some talent into the University of Miami. All the talent may have didn't fit, but he brought some talent into the University of Miami. And even though we go from, now think about this, right? I agree with the poster. The talent did diminish. Because if you're setting the standard at the 2001 team as the standard talent, then you the talent always going to be diminished because they can't be replicated. I don't think it can be. I mean, we had some teams that put, some 6 guys in the first round, but that's just one of the bridges that you got to cross, right? You still got some more levels to go. What about all 22 of your starters? So let's not even look at that. Let's look at it and say, man, that was great. Let's come back to reality. And the reality of the situation is the talent did not diminish so much that we go from 35-3 to 25-11. It did not diminish that much. It didn't. It did not diminish that much. What diminished that much? The coaching. What did Larry Coker do? Larry Coker did what any coach do when they feel like the kitchen's getting hot. I'm firing everybody. Fire 4 assistant coaches. Good coaches, too. But I'm going to tell you something, right? I'm going to get out of here. I was listening to Zach Smith, right? I know a lot of people don't like Zach Smith. I like Zach Smith because Zach Smith was going after Rhett Lashley Nick. Not Rhett Lashley, but Josh Gaddis Nick. He's going at his Nick. Keeping it whatever gears they got to grind. But you got a co-host. I'm not going to, I'm not plugging the show, but his co-host basically asked him, what's the difference between Ryan Day and Urban Meyer? Like, what's the difference? Because Ohio State seems to be at a crossroads right now. getting blown out by Michigan. So everybody we want to know. And Zach Smith basically broke it down like this. Urban Meyer is in your face. Urban Meyer coaches hard. Urban Meyer demands results. Ryan Day is the same way. But Ryan Day, as he said, takes a more teaching approach to the game. It's not bad. It's not bad. But you can't expect Ryan Day to be Urban Meyer. And that's the difference. And so when I thought about that, I had somewhat of an epiphany. I said, well, yeah. I don't think anybody would say Larry Coker was as tough as Butch Davis was. So to me, that answers my question that you can have the Jimmies and Joes, but you got to know how to coach them Jimmies and Joes. You got to know when I know the players know what to do, and we can just stimulate them mentally, right? But then you also got to know when it's time to, hey, it's time to get to work. We got to work. And that balance is so important. And I said I was gonna say this and get out of here, and I'm gonna say this and get out of here. Every year they ask Nick Saban about the team, and Nick Saban says, "Man, this ain't the same team from last year. This ain't the same team." In theory, it's not the same team, even though it has a lot of the same players, but it's not the same team. And what I take away from that is that Nick Saban has to go in and make sure and instill that, hey, this is the standard here. And once you understand that standard, then we can go off if you want to be player-led, right? A lot of people talk about the 01-02 team being so player-led. But what happens when it's time for the coaches to go back and be the leaders? What happens? What happens when you're taking when the blind starts leading the blind? Just because you were underneath that regime, don't mean that you're gonna be an Ed Reed type of leader. Don't mean that you're gonna be a Jonathan Vilman type of leader, DJ Williams type of leader. Just because you were there with them, don't mean that you can replicate what they do. And that's where the coaching comes in at. And that's why you can have as many Jimmies and Joes as you want to. But if you are not in a position to coach those Jimmies and Joes like you need to, final example, 2010 Florida. If you look back, 247, if you look back at all-time recruiting classes, you're going to see that Florida run right there, some of the greatest. One year they had the greatest recruiting class. Now, that has since been surpassed, but at that time, Urban Meyer put so much talent. Now, we know what was going on, but let's stick to the field. Let's leave off the field stuff alone. But let's stick just solely to the field. Urban Meyer put so much talent in that program. And guess what they did in 2010? Urban Meyer went 8-5. Urban Meyer went 8-5. You got all the Jimmies and Joes. You probably got the most talented team in college football based on recruiting. Maybe you were behind Alabama, maybe you behind LSU, but no. You Urban. You went 8-5. You had all the Jimmies and Joes. So what happens when you have all the Jimmies and Joes? So like I said, the talent did not drop down so much that we go from 35-3 to 25-11. And again, in the comments section, I want y'all to tell me, do you think the talent gap between the 06 team was that big that we go from 35-3 from 01 to 03 to 25-11 from 04 to 06? As always, it's all about the you, and you need some doggone coaching.